And young woman, 2 pieces of advice I want to give you. 2. The first is, be careful with your sexual behaviors. If you get pregnant, then abortion is not an option. Not an option. And the second thing I want to tell you, young woman, I want to beg you, do me one favor. Stay away from married men. The basis of success is a deep and abiding faith in Almighty God. That's the basis of success. That's the basis of success, my dear friends. So my advice to you is live close to your God, my dear friends. Take advantage of all the opportunities that are before you.
Thousands of eyes on the stage. Patrick Manning steps forward, and the room goes silent. Every word lands like prophecy. Every pause electrifies. This isn't just a speech, it's the speech of a generation. He proves why, despite Hindus being the majority, the PNM's Christian base can always return to power. He shows that you can put God first while uniting races with truth, vision and conviction. Trinidad itself, named for the Holy Trinity, was built for moments like this, and Manning delivered flawlessly. Rest in peace to the legend. And let's be clear, regardless of your views on his policies, this man could speak like no other. Think you've heard a better speaker in Trinidad or the Caribbean? Smash that like, subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment trying to convince us. We dare you. Nobody moves a crowd like Patrick Manning.
I came from very humble beginnings in Coquia village in San Fernando. All right, we have Coquia people here. My father used to work in the refinery lab in Pointe-à-Pitre. He used to sweep the lab. That's how we started off. And to supplement the family income, my mother had a private school. So I used to go to school before I knew anything else. They couldn't afford a lot of things. I used to have to walk to school, my dear friends, from Coquia village to San Fernando Government School on Rushwood Street in San Fernando, a distance of somewhere between 1.5 and 2 miles. Walk to school in the morning, walk back to school in the afternoon. And that, I know many of you are accustomed to drinking Milo and all kinds of things today. We specialized at home in soursop leaf tea and orange peel tea, for those who didn't know. That's how we grew up. My parents used to buy flour in the 50-pound bag. You know why? Because you could then take the bag, wash it, and you could make a shirt from it. And then they will wash the bag 2 and 3 times, so that I don't go down the road with Harvest Queen written on my back. It was Harvest Queen flour in those years. That's how it was. My mother was a very strong disciplinarian. You couldn't tell her, for example, that you weren't going to school. You can't tell my mother that. One day I had no shirt to wear. You know what she did? She opened a drawer and took out one of my sister's blouses with tassels all in front. If it's how pretty this blouse looking. And she gave me that to wear. And when I started to cry and I don't want to go to school, you're going to school. So I wear my sister's blouse to school complete with tassels. And the fellas had a field day in school at that time. But that is what we could have afforded, and that is what I had to wear. So that, my dear friends, I came up from very humble beginnings and in very humble circumstances. I am saying that to you because there are many of you in this audience who yourselves have come from very humble beginnings, who yourselves, my dear friends, are living in circumstances where today you can't afford everything that you would wish, and many of you believe that that is a disadvantage to your development. I want to assure you it is not a disadvantage at all. In fact, my dear friends, the very humble beginnings have a way of shaping your character and personality and making you into the kind of upright citizens to which all of us aspire. I remember, my dear friends, that when I went to primary school, whenever dignitaries came to that school, they used to say to us that you are the leaders of tomorrow. And I used to laugh. I used to laugh because I thought that that is what older people said to young people to make them feel good. Until one morning in 1986, when the PNM lost an election for the first time, only 3 of us survived. And I got up that morning to realize that I was about to be appointed leader of the opposition, and political leader of the PNM, elected political leader. I couldn't believe it because I never thought that that was possible. I never thought, my dear friends, that I could follow in the shoes of Eric Williams. I thought that such positions were not for me, and therefore I never prepared for it. And when I woke up that morning and realized what was about to happen, I realized the dilemma in which I found myself, and all because when people came to the school and they said to me and to us that the young people of today are the leaders of tomorrow, I used to laugh. I didn't take them seriously until I woke up and found myself in a leadership position. So I want to tell all of you today, it matters not where you were born. It matters not what part of the country you come from. It matters not, my dear friends, the conditions and circumstances under which you live today. As long as you take advantage of the educational opportunities that the PNM is providing for you, then I can assure you that you, my dear friends, are indeed the leaders of tomorrow. Prepare for it today. Prepare for it today. And don't find yourselves in the situation in which I found myself, in a position of leadership and authority, and not being prepared to discharge the functions associated with that task because I did not believe. Today, my dear friends, I want you all to believe. You are living in times where the arrangements are very different. The opportunities that you have today are not the opportunities that we had of yesterday. My father was a very intelligent man, but he never had a chance to go to secondary school. He just never had the opportunity. Today, you could go to any school you want. Every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago today has access to primary school education, has access to secondary school education free, now has access to university education free, my dear friends. And if you get a first class honors, you have access to a PhD free in any university in any part of the whole wide world. Those are the opportunities. Many of you have felt that you have made serious mistakes in life. I could tell you, I did not always do well in school. At one time, and many of you have disagreements with your parents. I had major disagreements with my father. At one time, my father told me, and listen to this carefully. At one time, my father told me that I was a disgrace to the family. Of course, when he died in 1998, he wasn't saying that. He was singing a different tune. But he said that. And I say it to you because many of you find yourselves in a situation where your parents tell you those things. Look at me today, my dear friends. From a disgrace to the family, to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. All because I took advantage of the opportunities that were put in my way. It is for you. In your training programs, they will also teach you life skills. And that is important because we are trying to build a certain kind of society. We are trying to develop certain kinds of citizens. And it is important that whether you are male or female, that you make a conscious decision as to the kind of citizen that you want to be. I want to say to the men in this audience that the women in this country are doing exceptionally well. The women are doing well. But as the women do well, and as they grow up, they're looking for husbands who have done well also. But the men are not measuring up. And therefore the men have to stop and take note of what you are doing, my young friends. Take note of what you are doing and realize that you have a responsibility to the women in this society, and you have a responsibility to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So you have to study a little harder. You have to work. And your attitude towards women, my dear friends, must be an attitude of love. Has to be that. I don't know if you all have studied women, but let me tell you a couple things about women. You see, you men, you are moved by what you see. So you see a sexy lady walking down the road, that attracts you. That don't attract women. You know what attracts women? The way you treat them, your attitude towards them, my dear. And I will tell you something else. If you treat a woman well, you will get out of her far more than you could ever hope to put in. Men in this society have to become more responsible. The young men have to understand that you have to be responsible in your sexual habits, men and women. And if you are not ready for parenthood, and I talk about a psychological readiness, If you are not ready for parenthood, my dear friends, please stay away from sex. Stay away from it. The ideal situation is that there should be no sex outside of marriage, but I know how you all are. Right or wrong? What do the women say? Oh, you're not saying anything. The men don't have sex with themselves, you know. You understand? So there has to be responsibility in the conduct of your sexual behaviors. Remember two things. One is that pregnancy is no respect of persons, nor is HIV/AIDS. It can happen to anybody, and especially if it is HIV/AIDS, it is a dangerous thing to have contracted that. What it does to you, it affects you psychologically, my dear friends, and puts you in a situation where you cannot maximize your full potential, especially the opportunities presented to you by the PNM government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And young woman, two pieces of advice I want to give you. Two. The first is, be careful with your sexual behaviors. If you get pregnant, then abortion is not an option. Not an option. And the second thing I want to tell you, young woman, I want to beg you, do me one favor. Stay away from married men. I want you to remember also, one other thing that I should have told you before, let me tell you it now. As my mother used to tell me, that cleanliness is next to godliness. I am talking about your personal hygiene in the first instance. And you men, women don't like men who don't smell good, for those who didn't know. But also the conditions under which you live. If you live in a house, it is your responsibility to keep the house clean. When my wife and I were living alone, and I'll be living alone again, I used to be the one washing wares at home, you know. I used to be the one washing wares. I could wash wares better than any one of you all in that audience today. I am very good at that. You have to keep your house clean. You have to keep the yard clean. And you have to keep clean the verge of your house up to the road. That is your responsibility, not the responsibility of the government. And as you do that, and as you improve the circumstances under which you live, the whole country will improve. You have, my dear friends, to take care of your own health. What we have noticed is that the most amount of deaths that now take place arise as a result of non-communicable diseases. That is to say, heart problems, hypertension, diabetes. I am talking to you not because I am in a position to speak, but I know that of which I speak. It is better to prevent, my dear friends, than to have to go through some of the things to which some of us have gone. It is better to prevent it. And if you have made mistakes in your life, well, before I get to mistakes, what you eat, therefore, determines what will happen to you in years to come. So if you want to insist on eating fast food, you know what will happen? You're heading for trouble. As you get older and later in life, it is going to catch up with you. So you have to cut that out as much as you can. Eat healthy, my dear friends, as best you can. Many of you may think that you have made serious mistakes in life, and therefore the cards are stacked against you. None of you all in the audience would have made any mistake more serious than the one I made in 1995. You know what it was? We called an election early in 1995. We had a discussion among us, and one of the persons present leaked it. We should never have proceeded in that way. And because it was leaked, we lost the elections. And when the elections were lost, one man was held responsible for that. It was me, my dear friends. And I had to walk all over this country and face the slings and arrows of people all over Trinidad and Tobago who felt that I had done the wrong thing, and therefore the fact that we were not in government was my fault and my fault only. And I had to face that. Every day, I got an article in the newspaper, it's a bad article, sometimes 2 and 3. Every day for 10 months, I had to face that. I am sure that none of you has made any mistake with consequences such as those that I have had to face. None of you have had that. So that if you made a mistake and it might affect yourself, your family, as bad as you think that mistake is, you can recover from it. That's what I'm trying to say. The world has not come to an end. The world has not come to an end. You are able to recover from that. So what you do, man, is you learn from the mistakes and you move on. You just move on, my dear friends, because the sky continues to be the limit. And one final word I want to say to all of you. One final word I want to say to you. The basis of success is a deep and abiding faith in Almighty God. That's the basis of success. That's the basis of success, my dear friends. So my advice to you is live close to your God, my dear friends. Take advantage of all the opportunities that are before you. I want you to talk to somebody who is not of your own race. I want you to talk to somebody who is not of your own race. That is more difficult to do. Okay? So it's not easy walkover. I want you to talk to somebody who is not of your own race, because one of the things that we have to engender in this country to a far greater extent than it is today is what the PNM started off as describing as interracial solidarity. No race is better or worse than any other race. We are all, my dear friends, we are all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and all of us have access to what the state has to provide. Nobody is better than anybody else. So you talk to somebody, and then you talk to somebody else who is not of your own race. You have from now till Monday, May the 24th. And if you do that, and if, my dear friends, you reaffirm your commitment to the PNM and you resolve that on Monday, May the 24th, you will go and vote for the PNM, on that very night, when all those ballots are cast and counted, all of us will say, no matter what your age is, ladies and gentlemen, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And it shall prevail. God bless you all.